tomorrow, mostly cloudy. High today 35, low tonight at 26. The high tomorrow 43. Clouds and warm Saturday, breezy in the afternoon, a shower. A high on Saturday at 65. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
28 at O'Hare. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, and during his State of the Union address on Tuesday evening, President Biden laid out his plan to combat runaway inflation, saying the following.
One way to fight inflation is to drive down wages and make Americans poorer. I think I have a better idea to fight inflation. Lower your costs, not your wages.
Sotto voce.
That means make more cars and semiconductors in America, more infrastructure and innovation in America, more goods moving faster and cheaper in America, more jobs where you can earn a good living in America. Instead of relying on foreign supply chains, let's make it in America.
Yay! Let's not stop being reliant on foreign oil.
Yeah, okay. Well, right. Let's make our energy in America. That's a good idea.
That's a good start.
Agree with that. That was not included in what he had to say. Speaking of where inflation is and where it may be going, interesting guest on Tucker Carlson's show the other evening, a farmer from Iowa. He farms 16,000 acres in Iowa, so substantial. And he was giving Tucker and Tucker's audience a bit of a tutorial on where food prices may be going. Okay. This is Ben Reinche. Here's what he said.
Soaring fertilizer prices are likely to spike food prices. If you're upset that gas is up $1 or $2 a gallon, wait till your grocery bill is up $1,000 a month. And it might not just manifest itself in terms of price. It could be quantity as well. Empty shelf syndrome may just be starting.
$1,000 a month increase in your grocery bills. He continued, providing more color on why this is possible in his view.
The price of growing my crops, or the major crops of corn, soybeans, wheat, rice, cotton, are up 30 to 40%. They are on my farm, and most of that is fertilizer. Nitrogen prices are up 3 times from the last crop we put in. Phosphorus and potassium have doubled. The planting season in the Northern Hemisphere is just weeks away. There's no miracle technology that can cut that in half or a third. It's a pretty fixed formula. For me to grow an acre of corn on my farm, I need 200 pounds of nitrogen, 200 pounds of phosphorus, and 100 pounds of potash. It's going to be hard how this plays out. Will farmers switch to other crops that produce less? We're certainly not going to literally pour on the groceries to grow this crop.
Those vertical farming technologists need to pick up the pace, apparently, if we're not going to be visited upon those prices that Iowa farmer is discussing. For more on this, pleased to be joined by Steve Moore. He is an economist, Wall Street Journal columnist, author of Govzilla. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, guys. And incidentally, I was just writing my weekly column on this very subject of Biden's so-called inflation fighting strategy. And I do love that line where he says, hey, businesses, you want to fight inflation, cut your costs. It's like, do these people know anything about business?
Right.
That's what
just
businesses do every
build a
day.
factory in America.
I don't think they ever thought of that. Hey, why don't we just cut our costs? By the way, one of the late night comics last night, I forget which one it was, said, hey, does that mean cut costs? Does that mean fire workers?
Yeah, right.
So
So you were the guy who snuck into the chamber and started heckling him when he was laying out his how he's going to combat inflation?
Well, look, it was pretty bizarre. I don't think anybody took it seriously. And it actually does show that this is a president, not just this president, but all of the people around him know nothing about business. I mean, it was almost insulting, and I like that clip that you just played from the farmer, gee, oh yeah, cut our costs. That's what farmers do every day. I mean, my father-in-law is a farmer. I mean, they do every day. They try to ruthlessly cut their costs because it's a tough business. And so for them to say, well, gee, if they just would cut their costs, everything would be fine. By the way, how are they going to cut their costs, as that gentleman just said, when your energy costs are up, your construction costs are up, your costs of materials are up, everything's up in cost? How are you going to cut your costs when you've got, 8.5% inflation for everything you buy?
And yesterday, a barrel of oil was $112.
Did it hit 120? That's amazing. I knew it went up.
No, 112. 112.
112. So that is, Amy, that is the equivalent of, another about 25 cents increase at the pump, and that'll hit probably in the next week or so. So this is really turning into quite a catastrophe. But higher and higher and higher costs of energy. And what I wanted Biden to say, which he didn't say in a State of the Union, was just, look, I made a mistake. The presidents make mistakes. Reagan made mistakes. Trump made mistakes. And to say, you know what, we're going to shift strategies. We're going to move back towards producing more oil and gas here at home. I mean, what's so hard about that? Say, you know what, yeah, maybe we should build the LNG, the XL pipeline. Maybe we should, stop our war against LNG terminals, which we need, because, what we could be doing, Amy, right now with a smart energy strategy, which Trump was doing, is we produce all this natural gas in states like West Virginia and states like Texas and states like, Ohio, and those are great high-paying jobs. And then we produce so much, and we're a very low cost producer of natural gas. We have an abundance of it, thanks to the shale revolution. And then we take it to the ports and we liquefy it with LNG terminals. And then what we were doing under Trump is we were loading that liquefied gas onto tankers and we were sending it to Europe. That's not happening anymore, because we're not building LNG terminals. We're not building pipelines. We've taken hundreds of thousands of acres of prime energy lands out of circulation, and it's a travesty, really, and it's become not just an economic problem, as we're now discovering. It is a national security problem. Every single day, we're sending somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million of American money to Russia and Putin to fund his war effort. It's crazy.
Financing our enemies, the great American tradition. Yeah. Not only did he not apologize, he added 2 more B's to BBB. It went from B cubed to B quintupled, bringing back Build Back Better, talking about tax or price controls on prescription drugs, tax credits to weatherize your home, and tax credits for daycare. That's how we're going to combat inflation.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. Look, every poll shows that inflation is the number one problem for Americans today. They're feeling the bite every time we go to the store and the gas pump. And the idea that we're going to fight this by more and more government spending and more deficits and more debt is just, it's laughable, really. And by the way, there's nobody outside of the White House who actually believes that to be true. I was just looking at some polling. I was talking to my friend Scott Rasmussen, one of the top pollsters, and he said, yeah, Americans can connect the dot. This isn't complicated. If you have more government spending and more government debt and more government printing of money, that's what happens to the inflation rate, Dan. It goes up.
Yeah, but Biden threw us a bone. They're going to release 60 million barrels of oil from stockpiles. That's going to make everything better, because that would last, 3 days?
Well, look, I think that it does make sense to release, that is probably a smart thing to do, but it's a Band-Aid. I mean, that's going to provide maybe a couple weeks of relief, and it's going to maybe reduce gas prices maybe a nickel to 10 to 15 cents a gallon for a while. But we're talking about a gas price, folks, that has gone, when Trump left office, I think it was $2.59 a gallon or thereabout. And now we're talking about close to $4 a gallon or more. So, another 10 or 15 cent reduction in the gas price is not going to provide people with the relief they need, and it's completely temporary. Same thing. There are a bunch of states saying, "Oh, we're going to cut our gas taxes," which is fine. I mean, okay, go ahead and do that, but that's not going to solve the basic law of supply and demand problem. We're losing $100 million a day. I just had a piece in the New York Post about this. $100 million a day as a country because our oil and gas production is down under Biden from where we were under Trump, and that's just a travesty.
Outside of the White House, there's some other people confused. They're the members of the D.C. Press Corps, including the Chicago Press Corps. And Chuck Todd is a good example of it. He doesn't understand why people are feeling morose about the economy because there's all these jobs out there to be filled.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, it is a strange economy right now. It is true. The jobs market is very good. I mean, there are a lot of jobs out there, and if you've got a skill and you want a job, absolutely they're out there. But the problem is that the wages can't possibly keep pace with this stampede of prices. So workers are actually falling behind, even though they're getting 6 and 7% wage increases. You know, when you got 7 and 8% inflation, you're falling behind. That's exactly what happened in the 1970s. So, and look, the latest numbers just came out, Dan, yesterday from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, which does a rolling average of what the GDP number is each week as we move along. And so we're 2 months into the year. Do you know what the GDP growth rate has been so far this year?
What?
Zero. So we're looking at the worst of all worlds. You know, the growth is slowing down to zero, and then you've got high inflation. There's a word for that, stagflation, which is the worst of all worlds. So I hope that we get this economy going again. But I got to say this, by the way, too. You know, God bless those Ukrainians. They're amazing. I mean, those are street fighters, and they are putting up quite a resistance to Putin. And you know, we're not. It infuriates me that while these heroes, these freedom fighters, are fighting the Soviet tanks in the streets of is it Kyiv? How do you pronounce
Kyiv,
it?
yeah.
Kyiv.
Yeah. Well, it used to be Kiev in the Russian prononciation, but it's Kyiv with the Ukrainian pronunciation.
Well, while they're fighting, we are actually armed, as you just said, Dan. We're financing our enemy in Russia. So I just find that to be really infuriating. And let's just make America energy. Let's make America energy great again.
He is Steve Moore, Govzilla author, as well as economist and Wall Street Journal columnist. Steve, thanks as always.
By the way,
Appreciate it.
Dan, before I go, can I just say one quick thing? The management at WIND figured out how they could cut their costs.
How?
They're going to stop paying you?
They're going to get rid of the two of you. Sorry. That's the cost cutting.
I understand. Hey, but the good news is fry cooks are making $25 an hour now, so I got something to fall back on. There you go. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're purchasing a new home, refinancing your existing home,